It's time for Windows Weekly, episode 179. Paul Thurrott is here with his full-blown Windows Phone 7 review. In fact, he's even got a couple of units to show us. All the news, too, from Microsoft, Redmond, and more. Windows Weekly is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott, episode 179, recorded October 21st, 2010. The Momentum Moment. Windows Weekly is brought to you by GoToAssist Express. Providing tech support to clients and colleagues in person is expensive and time-consuming. Support smarter remotely with GoToAssist Express. For a free 30-day trial, visit gotoassist.com/Windows. And by Audible.com. To download the free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/Windows. And by Carbonite Pro. With prices starting at $10 a month, all your Office PCs can be backed up safely and automatically. For a free trial and to learn more, visit CarbonitePro.com. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show that covers everything you'd like to know about what's going on up there in the Pacific Northwest, a little area near Seattle we call Redmond, Washington. Here he is, America's foremost Redmond watcher, Mr. Paul Thurrott, editor-in-chief of the SuperSite for Windows, winsupersite.com, news editor at Windows IT Pro, the author of many fine books, including the Delphi Super Bible, and I start at the left and go to the right, and I love to mention that book.
You'll be happy to hear, by the way. In fact, this was a little Easter egg for. Let me see if I can find it for our listeners. There is, in fact, a picture of the Delphi 3 Super Bible in my Windows Phone 7 review this week.
Ooh, find it and win a prize.
A copy of the Delphi 3 Super Bible by Paul Thurrott.
Actually, I'd like to have a copy of that so that I can hold it up. I do have one out-of-date book of yours, Windows Vista Secrets, but the Windows 7
the Delphi one could heat a cabin for a week.
It's bigger than this. This is pretty thick.
Yeah, it's a big book.
This is a man who writes big books. How large is the new one, the Windows Phone Secrets book?
That one's not too bad. Maybe 450 pages.
The secrets aren't so secret.
The secrets have become less secret. I have some good stuff in there, though. Even my review is 30 pages long. I mean, it's a, you know.
You did wait a minute. If I go to the winsupersite.com, there is a 30-page review of Windows Phone 7 there.
30 pages in Word. It's, you know, I split it into, I don't know, 8 or 9 parts for the site. But,
wow.
Yeah.
The SuperSite review. Here it is. Windows 7, Phone 7 isn't perfect, but it's a game changer for Microsoft and the broader smartphone industry. And then stretch that out to 8 pages, and you've got it.
Yeah. I kind of blow it away right there in the description, don't I? So I'm really going to learn how to write.
I like it when you save me the trouble of reading.
Yeah.
And you just put it all in there. You know, the synopsis should be that. It should say,
sure.
If you were to read this article.
It's the executive summary.
Yes. And I am an executive.
And you are something else.
Summary executive. So today we are here to gather together. You know what? I am stalling a little bit, and you probably detected that kind of syrupy consistency.
You're probably wondering why I asked you here today.
Yes. Well, there's a reason. I'm looking for the email that will tell me which topics to raise with Mr. Thurrott. Have you sent me that email?
I have.
Oh, that's a good sign. It's somewhere stuck in the internet.
Eileen even responded to it.
She did. I hear.
Well, to remind me you were running.
I hear her saying, "Eilen's great. She's a character." I hear going,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I got it.
There are more responsible people than you, Hilda.
Yes, I've read it. Apparently, you have decided not to, Leo. But but
feel free to also question its existence while you do so.
I'm looking at my email here. I got the Gmail. I don't see it. Well, tell me, what is our first topic of the day?
I will tell you.
Would you please?
Allow me to help since I wrote
Would you help me here?
Well, the first topic is Windows 7, which is celebrating its 1-year anniversary.
Is it a year? Is it really a year?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
So Microsoft
I hear your AT&T Samsung focus, by the way.
You do?
I could tell you've gone to AT&T because now I hear GSM noise in your mouth.
Yeah, okay. I've got multiple.
Many choices.
I don't know what to do with them, so I'll just
throw them over there.
How's that? Is that better?
It's quiet now.
Okay.
Like a tomb.
They're still in here.
1 year for Windows 7. I have to say, I have not in any way, retreated from my contention that it is, in fact, the best version of Windows I've ever used. Do you feel the same?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, they've sold 240 million copies, which is actually good. I'm not even sure I'd call that great, but it's good. And, yeah, there's people, Microsoft, because it's Windows 7, is coming out with all these 7 lists, top 7 this, top 7 that, But, yeah, I mean, I think Windows 7 was an interesting chance for Microsoft to almost slow down a little bit and just kind of get it right instead of just pushing ahead blindly with a bunch of different and maybe random technologies that could be in Windows. So it's not, it's not like Windows 7 is revolutionary in any way. There's really nothing.
No. It's just,
but it works.
Refined is the word I'd use.
Yeah, it's very atypical for Microsoft, to be honest. It is. And
the reason it comes up for me, I just installed again a fresh copy. I bought a new Mac Pro, the 8-core, 2 quad cores, and
you wanted a version of an OS that could actually take advantage of the cores.
Exactly. So I put 64-bit Windows 7 in a dual boot configuration, and it's so sweet.
Yeah. I very recently tried to install Windows XP on a netbook just for a sort of performance comparison.
Painful. Oh, that's painful.
And you forget, right?
Oh,
Windows XP, just to get the OS up to the desktop, is about an hour. And, of course, then it's this disastrous chain of updates and all this stuff. Now, obviously, Windows 7, there have been plenty of updates, too. But the actual act of installing Windows 7, we're talking 15, 20 minutes tops on most modern PCs. And it's you forget. You get so used to that. And, of course, during the Windows 7 beta, for various reasons, I had installed Windows 7 hundreds and hundreds of times. I once did it literally blindfolded when my screen wasn't working without needing the prompts. I was so used to the way that it worked. But it's so quick. It's nice. It's nice to see things like that. So, yeah. I mean, but I'm looking over these lists of things that are new in Windows 7, and these are our favorite 7 features of Windows 7, and I'm thinking, okay, well, none of these are humongous. I think there's some argument to be made that their move with the taskbar for program launching and all that is kind of a big deal for Windows, because that is a little bit different from the way things worked on Windows before. But from a general UI perspective, it's not that different. It's the way the Mac OS X already worked. So, nothing dramatic, but the end result is still very pleasing because I think they got all the details right.
Tomorrow's actually the 1-year anniversary. And how many have they sold in the first year? 240
million copies.
Oh, that's like one to every adult in the U.S. And then some.
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, it's getting there. It goes out on 93% of all new PCs. And the figure that, these are some figures from Microsoft. It currently has 17% global market share, which I'd point out is actually, just for Windows 7, is already 4 times that of the Mac, for example. I mean, to put that in perspective, I mean, just Windows 7 by itself. And it's interesting. It's Microsoft, there was a Momentum email I got, which always makes me smile for reasons we've discussed previously.
What is a Momentum email?
Well, when Microsoft doesn't actually have anything to report or to announce.
Oh, it's like the first 10 minutes of a Steve Jobs keynote.
Yeah. Well, of course, at those events, he's actually going to announce something. They always love to talk about the stats and figures and all that. That's kind of an Apple thing. They want to put things in perspective, so you go into whatever's new with a big smile on your face.
Right.
Microsoft will often actually have an event at which they have nothing to discuss, and at those events,
is that called a momentum event?
Those are momentum events, and you have to kind of kill time. And this always makes me laugh. I mean,
look, balloons.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's that Bing Crosby over there.
Well, hello there, Bill.
Why did I come to New York again? No, but it's yeah. So I've had momentum meetings. These are my
that sounds horrible.
Bane of my existence.
Oh, no.
So I surely have told you my momentum story. Have I not told you this story?
Well, maybe you have. Tell it again, because
this is easily a decade old. But I was in Tech Ed, and I want to say it was possibly in Florida. I guess it doesn't matter. But I was with a coworker, going from meeting to meeting. And XP had been out for a while, probably, or I can't even remember the Windows versions anymore. It must have been Windows 2000 to XP, or who knows? It was years ago. And we were right in the middle between OS releases, and I wanted to, obviously, to know about the next version, and what Microsoft wanted to talk about was the version they currently had in the market. And we had gone through a series of momentum meetings, and the next meeting was running late, so we were sitting outside of the room. They were meeting with somebody else. And I looked at the guy I was with, and I said, if this guy mentions the word momentum, I am going to slowly close my laptop, and then I'm going to beat him to death with it. So the door opens, and they said, "No, come on, come on in." And we came in, and the guy, stands up and shakes my hand. He says, "Oh, I just wanted to talk to you today about Windows, whatever, momentum." And the guy looked at me, who I was with. We just burst out laughing. It was one of the most
slowly I turned.
Yeah. It was just. Yeah, it was a bad moment. But,
so is momentum your term, or has it now become industry-wide?
Yeah, well, I don't know, industry-wide, but Microsoft uses momentum all the time.
Yeah.
So the momentum for Windows 7, of course, is it's continuing to sell. And then look, we sold more of them. It's a month later. And they are continuing the momentum through such things as Windows Live Essentials, which obviously adds new capabilities, and Internet Explorer 9, which again integrates very deeply into Windows 7 in particular. So it is a way of, Windows 7 isn't sitting still for 3 years until the next version of Windows comes out. They are in fact adding capabilities to the system through these kind of side-loaded third-party, non-direct in the OS type of updates. So that's momentum.
So momentum is not sales momentum; it's product momentum. It's new pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, momentum could be anything. X number of enterprises have adopted Windows 7 recently. That's momentum. There's all kinds of things. Momentum is just something that puts me to sleep. I want to know about the next thing.
Oh, well, let's talk about the next thing. Windows Phone 7 launch begins.
Yes,
I have your agenda now.
Oh, good.
Was that a cue? Hey, by the way.
Yes.
When we're talking momentum, do they ever verge into Windows 8? I mean, is there any? What is it? Normally it's 3 years between OS updates.
Yeah, you're not going to get Microsoft to talk about Windows 8 right now. But I will say this:
2 years off at least.
It's about a year and a half away. Okay. So we're right about the halfway point, or almost the halfway point.
Oh, okay.
I think the thing that's interesting about Windows 8, or the thing that you could sort of say about Windows 8, is that PDC is occurring next week at the end of October in Redmond for the first time ever, I believe, or at least in the first time in a long, long time. And Microsoft is going to be, I just searched for Windows 8 in my email like it was going to come up with anything. But I got it. It's weird. It's like a big empty, no. So Microsoft is having, let me just make sure this isn't under NDA.
It's funny. I found out why I couldn't find your show notes. I was searching Jason Howell's email. He apparently left his email logged in. So nice. I just sent a company-wide email saying, today I'm wearing a dress, and we'll see.
Nice. That will show him.
Yeah, he won't leave his email logged in on my desktop again.
You may recall a few months ago, I think it was, that some Windows 8 information leaked to the web, and there was some of the stuff that Microsoft was exploring.
Well, it's relevant in light of what Apple announced on Wednesday, because it mentioned an app store.
An app store. Now, Microsoft, or unofficially, I should say, Microsoft has talked about having an app store that would be part of Windows 8, and the notion of this new type of application that would bridge the gap between traditional local Windows applications and web applications, right? And that these things would be what would be in this new app store. And one of the focus groups they're going to have at PDC this year is about what they're calling connected applications. And it says, are you connecting your applications and websites through social or cloud platforms, such as Facebook Connect, Dropbox, and Flickr? We would like to get feedback on your experience with development on these platforms, including working with the various SDKs, APIs, and widgets. spend an hour with members of the Windows team discussing your current use of these services and how Microsoft can help you connect your projects. And I'm wondering if this isn't related, because a lot of the stuff that's these focus groups are having, around new form factors and understanding developer networking and modern SDKs and so forth, I think this is the prelude to Windows 8 right here. I think this is the next gen stuff. And of course, it's going to start from a developer context. In the past, Microsoft would always ease into the next version of Windows through their hardware events, because they had to get device driver writers and hardware makers on board with whatever the underlying platform changes that were coming. And they don't really do WinHack as regularly anymore as they used to. And I think this PDC could be the first time, where we find out anything, if maybe, about Windows 8. So we'll see. That's next week. I'm hoping there's something, some tidbit of something there.
I wonder, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit on your outline here, but I think this is a good time to bring it up. I wonder if Ray Ozzie's, I don't want to say departure. I mean, he's still at Microsoft, but really departure.
I found the timing of this to do with this incredibly suspect, actually.
Yeah.
And maybe something to do with this. He's been a very sporadic blogger forever. So he hadn't been blogging for years. And then literally the week before he announced he was leaving, he started blogging again. And the first thing he blogged about was this Windows 1.0 press kit that he had discovered in his office. Now you have to think because he was like clearing out his office.
He was emptying his desk.
Look, yeah, I mean, literally, right?
Bill left this on. It was taped to the bottom drawer.
Yeah. I don't know why. It's weird. It was ticking in it. So he wrote about that, and now he's leaving. And of course, he was behind all the cloud stuff, supposedly. And 2 days later, they announced an Office in the cloud thing that we'll talk about as well, which to me is a huge platform move and a very, very big news.
This Office 365, yeah, I'm very interested about this, yeah.
And of course, PDC is coming, and PDC is going to be very much cloud-focused as well, and Windows Phone-focused. There'll be other things as well. And yeah, I mean, this is all very strange timing. So yeah, you do have to kind of wonder. I mean, I guess in a good news thing, and someone had written this somewhere. I wish I could remember who it was, and I apologize for just stealing this. But someone noted that, the good news from this departure is that he isn't announcing he's going to Oracle or HP or wherever else. I mean, he's not going to show up Microsoft's biggest competitor tomorrow, hopefully. So it appears that he'll be working in some capacity with Microsoft very loosely in the future or whatever, which is fine. But, as you and I and Mary Jo Foley and I have discussed a lot, Mary Jo Foley has written some stuff about this. Ray Ozzie was like a black hole. I mean,
yeah, I mean, nothing that he was working on from Azure to Azure,
the Live Mesh and
Mesh, I guess, came alive. I mean, he did not make an impact on that company. He was a CTO. He took Bill Gates' place as Chief Technology Officer, and I don't see an impact.
No, and his first claim to fame, at Microsoft anyway, the first big thing he did was, of course, write a memo about cloud computing that was like a little too much like the memo Bill Gates wrote about the internet tidal wave 15 years earlier, 10 years earlier, I guess, at the time. I don't know. The thing about him that I'll say that is just irrefutable is he's a genius programmer. He is of that generation. He is maybe one of the remaining guys from the Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mitch Kapoor era. One of the few people who could step into Bill Gates' shoes at Microsoft and maybe make a credible run at being the same kind of guy. I mean, there aren't too many people that could do that, right? I mean, following up Bill Gates is not an easy task, not at Microsoft. But on the other hand, I don't really have much to point to from a legacy perspective. He is often criticized for re-implementing the same exact product over and over again, and he certainly did do that at Microsoft.
Lotus Notes being his...
Yeah, Notes, Groupware, what do you call it? Groove.
Groove. And that's what he did before he came last.
Yeah, and then and of course, they've redone Groove several times, and he's always been about this sort of loosely connected, distributed, computing model, where people are collaborating in some kind of virtual space, and it's the same thing kind of over and over again. A lot of the cool stuff that he talked about, like Live Mesh as an application platform, has very quietly disappeared. And I think he did some divisive things about allowing different groups at Microsoft to compete, creating the same kinds of products. and enforcing the best, and so the best one wins, which is neat. But here we are years down the road, and that best one that won is now roughly what it was 3 or 4 years ago. So great, Guess we have one now. That's neat, but it's not really that much better. So I don't know. I'm not sure what to think about this, I guess.
He is still around. What is he doing now?
Yeah, so this is the other weird thing. So he stepped down from his position as chief software architect, but he's still at Microsoft, and he's working on entertainment products.
Yeah.
It's like he had like a midlife crisis, and he's going to make the next iPod or something.
Did he take the job that
Robbie Bach is leaving?
Robbie Bach is left?
They're not really saying. Yeah, they don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
It's it has to look like a way station on the way out.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we'll give you something.
Sure, you can put a pirate flag on the window there and have.
We don't really want to look like we fired you.
Well,
that'd be embarrassing.
I'm not saying they did actually. So I don't think someone like Ozzie. I don't know. Who knows? He's always been so quiet. If they never said anything, no one would have noticed.
Right. You're right. How would you know he's gone?
How would even know? I don't. Strange.
Bill Gates taped 3 envelopes to the drawer.
Yeah.
What is that? How does that joke go? First crisis, blame it on your predecessor.
Right.
This is the advice that a outgoing CEO leaves for the incoming CEO. He says he gives him 3 envelopes. He says, open the first one in your first crisis. In the first crisis, he says, blame it on your predecessor. Blame it on me.
Right.
Second envelope for your second crisis. And I can't remember what it was. The second crisis, blame it on somebody.
Yep. Remember either, yeah.
And then the third envelope says, in your third crisis, open this envelope. He opens it up and says, prepare 3 envelopes.
yeah, exactly. I mean, there was no.
I love that joke. I told it terribly, but I love that joke.
Yeah.
Reorganize.
Right.
That's probably it. Reorganize. Yeah, that's the second envelope.
Well, see, Microsoft already reorganizes on an almost regular basis, so that would never make it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know what to say. There's a lot of questions about Steve Ballmer's leadership capabilities, obviously, and the appropriateness of a salesman running a technology company and so forth. Ray Ozzie was certainly a technologist, a smart programmer and smart guy. I don't know. Is he? I don't know. I can't. I just don't have. I have so little experience with this guy. I literally don't know what to say about it. It's just bizarre.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know. We haven't had anything to say about him all along. It's like, well, he's very eminent. And, when they hired him, I thought, well, this is a strong commitment to the cloud.
Right.
And,
right.
I guess in
like
a way, with the release of Office 365 and BPOS.
So they created a new and very unique Windows Azure platform. I think that's interesting. No one, if you were to poll people on the street, nobody knows what this thing is, but they've apparently done something over there. They've deepened their ties to the cloud in various products, including Windows and Office, and now very deeply with Office 365, which is neat. But you get the feeling that Windows Live has kind of stood still for too long. I've talked before about how they need to rev more frequently than they do, and was that his fault? I mean, I don't think so. If anything, it's probably the fault of the Windows team because they were dragged into Windows, and now they get pulled into that slower, revolving update cycle that Windows is part of. I don't know. I'm not blaming him for anything. I mean, Microsoft has made some decent cloud moves. Absolutely, they have a very rich set of products in the cloud and all that. But again, I don't. Do we credit him for this? I don't even know. He's a black hole. I just don't know what to make of this.
Moving along, Windows Phone. Actually, let's take a break and then move along. We'll talk a little bit about Windows Phone 7. It has begun. And about your review, because I'd like to know more about that. And which phones you've taken a look at and so forth. But before we do that, I do want to mention our friends at Citrix who bring you this show, make it possible, and they're good product, great product for people who are in the support biz. It's called GoToAssist Express. If you're an IT department or you take care of users for software support, Maybe you just take care of friends and family. You ought to know about GoToAssist Express. It takes the brilliant remote access backbone that Citrix is so justly famous for and applies it specifically to the issue of remote support. You can view another computer online, control it, so you can resolve the technical issue quickly. You don't have to talk somebody through a phone call. Click start. Okay, that's at the bottom on the left. It says, well, no, it doesn't say anything. It's got the Windows logo, the Windows logo. It looks like a window. It's a rainbow colored. There's a button on the lower left. Click the button on the. you get the. You've been there. We've all been there.
You and I have been there.
We've all been there. So all you do is you say, okay, here's the deal. Before I kill you, go visit the website, GoToAssist.com, enter in this number, or you just send them a link. This is what I do to my mom. I just say, Mom, we get in chat. We're on Skype. I said, Mom, I just sent you a Skype link. Click that. Click the link? Yeah, click the link. She doesn't talk like that. She gets mad at me because I make fun of her. I'm not making fun of you, Mom. Click the link. She clicks the link, and now I'm in. It basically takes her to GoToAssist.com. She downloads the software. Doesn't have to have it ahead of time. It takes 30 seconds. And now, instead of telling her, click the rainbow button, you just click it, and you do it, and you get it done. And you can do up to 8 sessions at once. They can be unattended. Once you've installed that software, they don't have to be there, which is nice. You'll reduce travel and support time. You'll increase revenue. You'll be able to service more clients, make the most out of your workday. In fact, I just saw a study that said people who use GoToAssist Express are 40% more effective. That's 2 extra days a week. And, oh, by the way, works on PCs and Macs, so you can support either from either. 128-bit end-to-end encryption, so you don't have to worry about snoops. Free 24/7 support for you. Just try this free. GoToAssist.com is the website. Actually, go to GoToAssist.com/Windows. GoToAssist.com/Windows, and you could try it free for 30 days. Unlimited, They have day passes, so after you try it, if you decide, well, I don't need this every day, but you can get a day pass as needed. If you are in the support business, though, you want the month-to-month. Unlimited. It's really great. GoToAssist.com/Windows. No more will you ever have to say, it looks like a win. It's in the on the lower right. Okay, on the left. No, the left. No, the left. That. You don't have to do that anymore. You just do it. You just fix it. It saves a lot of wear and tear. So we're actually not getting Windows Phone 7 first, are we, in the U.S.?
No. No, we are not.
AT&T says November 8th.
This is a weird problem. Microsoft has so many partners both around the world, right? Wireless carriers and device makers, all making different devices, selling different devices in different markets and all this. It's just impossible. This happened with previous versions of Windows Mobile as well. To have one big splashy launch event and say, they're all available today. And I still don't understand why that is, but that is the way it is. So they're kind of trickling out, Even here in the United States, I don't remember the exact number of phones we're getting by the end of the year, 9, I think. 3 of them will be available on November 8th. And then the other ones will kind of trickle out between then and the end of the year. So what we have today is a subset of the phones that will be available in the European, Australian, and New Zealand markets are now available, as has been my fear from day one. The wireless carriers are, of course, the weakest link in this whole plan. And you've seen reports maybe from places around the world where people go into these wireless stores and the devices are sold out in 2 seconds. And the people there have no idea what they are. They've never heard, are we selling Windows Phone today? We didn't even know, Right. This is, it's unfortunate, but it also speaks to, Microsoft didn't do a good job of preparing us for this, but they did try to communicate that this is sort of a rolling launch, right? It's something that's going to happen over time. So,
is that unusual? I mean, I guess Nokia launches in Europe, but it's unusual for an American company to launch in Europe or somewhere else.
Right. So I actually don't know why that's happening that way, but my guess is that the device makers and wireless carriers there just happen to be more ready, with the actual products. That's my guess, but I don't know.
Oh, yeah, of course. I forget. There's a phone company involved.
Oh, yeah. That's.
Oh, that
was one of the more contentious bits. I went to a reviewer's workshop last week for Windows Phone after the launch. And one of the little bits of news, Microsoft has this way of, they'll say something, and it's a fact. You know, this is how we're going to do this thing, and months go by, and then you'll be the product is done, and then they'll mention this thing about that fact, and the story has changed completely, and then you say, well, hold on. But you said back in February, I
got
have
my
a
notes
video
right here. Yeah.
Yeah. No. It's like, this is public information. You said this. Oh, no, we're not doing that. You know, and that moment came for Windows Phone with this notion of software updates. You know, one of the big advantages of Windows Phone over Windows Mobile is that Microsoft and not the phone carriers, the wireless carriers, are going to control how users get updates. And actually, that's not strictly true. And I mean, I don't like being in an event where there's this one guy who keeps making them go back to the previous topic. But when it came to this, I actually was that guy. And I'm not proud of it, but I really felt ripped off by this because, you know, they say you can go back and look at it, at the videos that Microsoft still has on their website that they made in February at the Barcelona event, or at the Mix event in March, or at TechEd in June. They said they did this repeatedly. We will control the updates. Wireless carriers will not be able to stop us. And that makes sense because Microsoft ultimately controls both hosts the updates and then actually has the end conduit through which the updates are being shipped, which is the Zune PC software, because these updates are going to be bigger than 20 megabytes, the big ones. They can't be delivered over the air. You'll have to be tethered to get that update. You won't be going through the wireless carrier anyway. I mean, why even have them as part of the equation? But actually, they are part of the equation. And there are going to be instances where AT&T or T-Mobile or these other wireless carriers are actually going to be able to stop an update from going to the phone for up to one update cycle, whatever that may be, once a month, once a quarter, whatever it is. They actually could stop updates from getting to the phone.
Oh, that's not good.
That is not what they said.
That's not what I remember that part because I thought, oh, this is striking. Microsoft is going to coordinate updates.
Yeah, so
something Apple even, well, Apple does because they have one carrier, but something Android never done.
Yeah. Now, the good news is they're only able to stop it for that one cycle. They can't stop it permanently. I argued very strongly that, you know, this is the old situation where it behooves a wireless carrier to sell you a new phone, not to give you an update for free for your existing phone. And that a year from now or 2 years from now, they're going to turn off the spigot for these updates because that's what they're going to want to do. And no, you know, they get that the key to a good experience is this and that. And, you know, we'll see. Microsoft is being very trusting of these people who have never proven themselves to be trustworthy, including, by the way,
Ralph de la Vega.
Here in the Windows 7 launch, right? I mean, it's the same thing over. I mean, these guys are just clueless.
I'm Ralph de la Vega, and I promise I will update your phone just as fast as I can.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's exactly what he looks like. And I told you he looks like the bad guy from that Harrison Ford movie. Like the South American drug lord guy.
I thought he looked more like Higgins from your favorite show.
Yeah, Magnum PI. Yeah, he does look like Higgins a little bit, but he's, well, but you know, anyway, he, I don't trust
without
these people.
Without the smooth voice.
They've never proven themselves to be trustworthy, and this is, you know, it's better than Android, much better. And if it goes according to what they're saying, I think it's a pretty good situation. I wish they had been upfront about this from day one. I mean, this is another typical Microsoft miscommunication. But, you know, I guess we'll see what happens. So,
yeah.
Okay. I mean, not a deal breaker, but, you know, you don't want these little, this is the kind of stinging disappointment that I was really nervous about as I was finishing with the book, and we were getting up to the time where they finished the software, and I'm thinking, here it comes, you know, they're going to stick something in your side. And it never really happened, but I think this qualifies for that. You know, this is the type of thing I'm talking about. They'll always get you with something, and you know, it has. And so here, you know, this is what it is. Anyway, the software itself, I think, is excellent. You know, the reviews are all over the place. You've got the, you know, the Walt Mossberg types who obviously.
Does he like it? What does he think?
He thought it was okay, but he picked apart all those very obvious little things that we've been talking about. I told you months ago, you know, people are going to be able to pick this thing apart with all these stupid little features that it's missing, and that's what he did. And, you know, very...
Like cut and paste and stuff like that.
If I was to write a parody of what a Windows Phone review could be, he wrote it, because it's so obvious, and And I'm sure he spent, whatever 15 to 17 minutes he spent with it, I'm sure it was really life-altering. But
oh, come on. He must have spent more time
He
with
missed out on the stuff that makes the phone special. He didn't even mention it. And that shows me that not just that he doesn't get it, but that he's not interested in communicating those things that actually do set this phone apart from the competition. It's not games, not really. I think the ability to have Xbox Live games on the phone is going to make people who like Xbox Live on the console and who are looking for a portable Xbox machine happy, and that's fine. But, as I noted in my review, if you're looking for the ultimate gaming platform, portable gaming platform, it already exists. It's called the iPhone or the iPod Touch. They have thousands and thousands of games, and some of them are really good. Some of the games on Windows Phone are really good, but this is not actually a differentiator for most people. I mean, both of them have good games, so let's move on from that story. I think the thing that makes Windows Phone special is these integrated experiences, and especially the hub, the Pictures hub, which I think is the poster child for why Microsoft is onto something. That, as we've said, I'm sure we've discussed this on the podcast. On the iPhone, it's very painful to look at photos because they're all in different places on the iPhone, and you, as the user, have to think and know where they are and do the hard work of navigating to those things and then looking at them one at a time. Some pictures you may have are on Facebook, some may be on a photo sharing site like SmugMug or Picasa Web or Flickr.
It supports SmugMug and Flickr?
Yeah.
Oh, yay. Because that's where my stuff is. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all in there. You may have, pictures. You're an Apple user. You may have pictures on Mobile Me, right? Why wouldn't you? Well, on the iPhone, Mobile Me pictures and your local sync pictures from the Mac or PC are in two completely different applications. It's a really broken system. On Windows Phone, this works really, really well. It's all integrated into one experience, and it works. It's nice. It's attractive, and it works well. He didn't mention it. And I find that kind of thing to be typical and predictable and irritating because he speaks to such a wide audience, and I think he's doing it a disservice. But, Windows Phone out of the gate, I would say, is roughly on par with what's available from Apple and Android. I think it's there. They've established themselves. It's going to get better. It's not perfect. There are lots of little missing features. Copy and paste is not there right now. I mean, as I was I occasionally will bore my wife with technology discussions. In this case, because this is something she might have run into. The instances in which you actually need copy and paste on a phone, really, in the real world, like how often does it actually happen? I think maybe once, maybe twice since I've had Windows Phone, there has been some instance where, it would be nice to be able to copy and paste this thing. I do remember personally from the early days of the iPhone when it didn't support MMS messages, that when you got an MMS message, it would come in to an AT&T website, and there would be a link to the website, and then there would be a logon name and then a logon password. But there was no way to copy and paste that information. And, of course, it didn't multitask. So there was no way. You'd have to literally write these things down on a piece of paper. And that was one of those times where copy and paste would have been really handy, right? You don't actually need it that much, but when you do need it, you kind of really need it, So I think that Windows Phone does need copy and paste, but on the other hand, I think we're overblowing how frequently it actually comes up, that kind of thing. Anyway, there are different phones. I think that the experience is very similar or almost identical from phone to phone, which I think is important. But I think the phones also have selling points, based on the capabilities of the hardware. Some of them have hardware keyboards and some don't, and some of them have bigger screens or better screens or more memory or whatever it is, that there are different ways you can differentiate yourself. So I think one of the advantages that Microsoft has over Android in particular is a very consistent software platform, far more similar to the iPhone than Android. But then with the choice of Android, which, I think for a lot of people is going to make the difference, that it's that best of both worlds kind of system. And I think that's how I would describe this to people, to normal people, non-technical people, that it kind of splits the difference.
It does that. That's a very apt way of putting it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the best. It's not as wide open as one, but not as closed as the other.
Yeah, and it doesn't have as much anarchy as one, but it's not as anally, shut down as the other one.
Right.
So it's in the middle. You know, it's a centrist OS, I guess.
It's the taint OS.
I just want to go on record. That cannot be
the name of the show.
Right.
Okay, you got it.
I don't usually try to.
You've weighed in. You've weighed in.
If my voice has any weight with you, sir.
I'm just saying it taint one and it taint the other. It's in between.
It's yes.
That's all I'm saying. I don't know what you're thinking of. You had recommended the Focus. Have you got a Focus yet?
I do.
And so now you have it in your hot little hand.
Not at this moment, but you made me put it far away.
I'm so jealous.
I will bring it closer.
Bring it closer. I'm so jealous. I want one so bad. Let's see. Can you show it to us, or are you NDA'd? I mean, how much can you talk about? This is open now. This is it.
Anything. It's out. It's.
Oh, whoa! It was beautiful. Yeah, turn it sideways because it's.
Yeah, it's super thin.
Oh, look how. Oh. Okay.
And
now hold it upside. No.
Yeah, go ahead. Now shake it.
Now shake it. I love that phone.
I love it too. And the thing that you can't really communicate very easily. You have to put it in your hand. It's crazy light.
Yeah.
And when at the reviewers, or rather at the launch event, when somebody handed me actually it was Brandon was the first guy. He came up and he said, I wasn't able to tell you this before, but this is the phone I was talking about. And he handed me the one he had, and it's so light. I thought this is like one of those demo plastic models with nothing. It's just air, right? But no, this is the phone, and it's I've been toying. It's hard to see, but I've been toying with that white background, which I sort of like, but I understand that it has adverse battery implications for an OLED type screen. The white background.
Yeah, you want black because OLED doesn't use any juice to display black, only light.
Yeah, so the default background is black. It actually looks great and is probably what people would, I think a lot of people would prefer it anyway. When the background is black, the screen is so beautiful. You can't tell where the screen ends because, the plastic and glass around it is black. And
that's why, by the way, I loved my Nexus 1. I love an OLED screen. I think they really are gorgeous. And this is supposedly the best screen out there.
It's absolutely the best screen out there. Yeah, of all the devices. Yeah, this was very clear at the launch event because you could see them all side by side.
Right.
And you'd go down the list, good. Ooh, look at that one. It just stood out. And what's interesting about it is you keep waiting for there to be that one problem, And I think the problems for this, and one of these I haven't actually verified, but most of these devices have 512 megabytes of RAM, apparently. And this one, I guess, has 256, which is...
God, there had to be something.
Yeah. Now, that said, this thing performs wonderfully, and I've never, compared to the HTC Surround, for example, which is the other one I have here.
The Surround is the one with the 5.1, the thick one?
Yeah, it's thick.
How's the sound on it?
You know what? It's not that good.
Yeah.
I am not impressed by that at all. And, you look at, you assume it's a slider phone because it looks like one, and then it does. It slides up.
But what you get is not keyboard,
it's like
but
this
speakers.
little bank of speakers.
Yeah,
like,
it's cookie. That's crazy.
It's stupid.
It's crazy talk.
I'm not impressed by that one personally. Sorry, but yeah, the screen and the other thing that's going on with this phone that's very interesting and still is woefully documented is the memory, the storage, not the memory, not the RAM, but the storage is expandable. It's not removable. I think we talked about this a little bit. I've been trying to get clarification from Microsoft on whether there is a specific speed SD, micro SD that's required for this. The problem is if you buy the phone and you load it up with content and then you decide to expand the storage.
You have to decide now.
You have to wipe it out. So you're pretty much, well, there's no reason not to wipe it out.
Do they come with a card or they come with a small card though?
No, this one doesn't come with a card. So,
okay.
There's 8 gigs internal.
And then you could add up to 32, right?
Up to 32 for 40. So at that point, this becomes the one with the most storage.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Based on the emails I've gotten so far from Microsoft, it appears now they actually still are looking for the exact requirement. The problem with Windows Phone is that it combines the memory, the storage, into one thing. You don't want to get a slow micro SD because that could slow down and eventually even screw up the entire system. So I'm going to guess and just say it's going to require whatever the fastest one is now. That's the one you're going to want. but I'm waiting for verification. The documentation that comes with the phone literally says nothing. It says you can put a micro SD in there and expand it, and it doesn't mention any of the potential pitfalls, which I think there are many. But whatever, at least you can expand. It's a possibility, right? I mean, this is something you can do with this phone. But, you know, honestly, even as it is, it's just beautiful. The screen's beautiful. And, yeah, absolutely my favorite of all the phones.
What other ones do you have? Any other?
Well, so the other, no, I mean, I have the prototype, obviously, and I have the HTC Surround. I mean, at the launch event, we were able to look at all the other phones that were available in the U.S., and, you know, the HTC HD7, without knowing what these phones were going to be, I always sort of thought that the HTC would have been my favorite, you know, because the previous mobile was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it is good. And if you're on T-Mobile and that's your carrier, nope.
Yeah, boy, that is noisy.
Yeah, it's
wow. That's the focus for sure.
It's so powerful.
It's so powerful. It could take over the show. That's that GSM sound.
Yeah, I would get the HD7 otherwise. Yeah. On
yeah, no, that's the one on paper I liked. Of course, T-Mobile I'm not necessarily crazy about, but on paper that's the one that looked really
it's got the biggest screen. Although we're talking a fraction.
0.3 inches.
Yeah.
Can you tell the difference? Can you notice the difference?
Well, I'll say this. This thing next to an iPhone or next to the prototype phone I had before, the screen is ginormous. There's a major difference.
No, I have a 4.3 Droid X, so I know the difference, yeah.
Yeah. It makes a big difference.
But you're saying the 4 is close.
Oh, yeah.
This is good. This is good.
It's perfect.
I think this is the one I'm getting. I mean, I don't need another phone. I want you to know. I'm getting this because I don't want to be Malt Wasberg.
I don't want you to be either.
I don't want to give short shrift.
I don't have the time or the energy or the inclination to go back and look at his reviews of, say, certain other smartphones and see if he made the same.
He loves the Apple phone.
See if they still made the same picky little.
I wonder if he mentioned the lack of cut and paste and multitasking when he reviewed the first 3 iPhones.
You know, if he did, he probably went on to say, but, you know, it doesn't matter because these things are so great anyway. Who cares? You know?
Right.
You know, he never mentioned, like, you know, the reason it doesn't, you know, not having cut and paste is a problem is because I need it all the time. He didn't write that because I bet he doesn't. you know?
Right.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying.
My son has pretty much trashed his iPhone 4. He says, I don't want another iPhone because I'm going to break it again because it's all glass.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's AT&T, so we could easily just switch him over to this phone. But
I don't believe there are any excellent Android phones on AT&T. I could be wrong about that, but they're right. I mean,
I think the Aria is the Aria. There's one good Android phone on AT&T, but
none of the top tier ones.
I don't think he wants an Android phone. I'm thinking this is the phone. Well, I'm asking. Actually, I'm not thinking. I'm asking. 16 years old. I would have given him a Kin, to be honest.
Sure.
Do you think this is a good choice for a teen?
Yeah, I do.
It seems to me, you know, with the Facebook and the Twitter. He's not on the Twitter, but he's on the Facebook.
What are you, 78?
He's on the Google.
On the Twitter.
He's on the Twitter, you know. He's on the Facebook all the time.
He's been on the Twitter all night.
I don't know what he's doing. He seemed to always be on the Facebook all the time. That was the best thing about that movie. Yeah. The Social. Did you see it yet? The Social Network.
I will.
Sean Parker, who is this razzmatazz guy, you know, he's got all the aura because he started Napster with Sean Fanning. He comes in, he sits down, he buys the table drinks, and they have sushi and stuff. And as he's leaving, he says, "Oh, one more thing. Drop the." Because originally it was the Facebook.
Facebook, yeah.
And Mark Zuckerberg, played by Jesse Eisenberg, goes, ooh. And Eduardo Saverin, who's just sour and bitter throughout the whole movie, goes,
Nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful moment. I hope I haven't spoiled the movie for you now.
It's based on true events, so
I think you knew that it was called Facebook, not the Facebook.
I did, yeah.
You might have, at the beginning of the movie, you might have said, why are they calling it the Facebook?
Sure.
It's not its name. Oh, but I have spoiled it for you.
This would not have ruined anything for me. No.
Pretty much that's how
I think we should change the name of this podcast to The Windows Weekly.
The Windows Weekly. I like it. I'm going to put the. You know, I'm the tech guy. Actually, I'm not the. I'm the.
Yeah.
So.
Sure. You should just be called the.
Because we're all Quakers here. Thee and thou.
Right.
So, you have a sorry tale to tell, my friend, of switching your Windows ID. And I'd like you to share that with our friends here in the audience.
One of the things that happens as you transition to Windows Phone, it's like transitioning to cancer. Is
jeez. Now wait a minute. Now come on.
As I said that, I know. As I said that, it was
that's kind of strong.
As you transition to this phase of your life, you'll notice reduced.
It's like transitioning. I know what you're saying. It's like becoming a member of the AARP, which I'm about to do. As you're transitioning into the last stages of your life, as
you're going to want to eat dinner earlier.
As you begin,
you're always going to be cold.
The downhill
and nothing
slope.
is ever going to be adequate
to the end of your days. Yes.
Yeah. No. So over the years, I've had various Windows Live IDs for various reasons. I mean, I go back with Hotmail.
Do you think this will be the last phone you'll ever own, Paul?
No.
Okay, good.
No, it's the first Windows phone I'll ever own.
Oh, really? You've not owned oh, come on.
No, I mean Windows phone. I mean,
Windows Phone 7.
I've had many Windows mobile devices.
Yeah.
This is actually, just to transition back to the Windows Phone thing briefly. One of the conversations, I don't think I wrote this in my review, but I had this conversation about Windows Phone where I was saying, with Windows Mobile, I mean, how bad did they have to screw it up for me to hate it as much as I did, right?
Really?
I did everything I could.
You tried,
I wrote an
Paul.
article 2 years ago stating my intention to stop writing and using the iPhone and move to Windows Mobile. I tried several of these things. I bought a bunch of them. Microsoft loaned me some. I tried every revision of the 6.x and 6.5, 6.5x and 6.5x3. Blah, blah, blah. And I could not stand it.
You sing it, sister.
So, but then Windows Phone comes out and game over. We're done. Perfect. They got it. Perfect. So there's that. I've had many. I go back. I go back to the very first. I was a beta tester on the very first version of Windows CE, which was codenamed Pegasus, and I had the very first Windows CE device, which was a NEC handheld PC.
You preach it, brother.
I had everything. I had everything.
Say amen.
And God, I hated that piece of crap.
It was a piece of crap. I tried to. You know what, Paul? I tried to. I really did.
There are people. I still hear from people who really.
Oh, I know.
There are actually people who like it.
I'd say, you know what it is?
It's terrible.
It's called Stockholm Syndrome. When a phone, you spend so much energy trying to use something, and you finally master it, even however crappy it might be. In fact, the more crappy, the more this happens. Do you feel it's kind of like, well, I've mastered it now, so I love it. I love my captor. Stockholm Syndrome.
It must have been what it was like for people who were DOS keyboard mavens.
Precisely. Batch files.
When Windows came along, and they just hated it.
Yeah. Where's the batch files?
Yeah.
I need a .pif now.
Right. Anywho, back to Windows Live. So you don't have to have a Windows Live ID with Windows Phone, but obviously if you do, it makes the whole experience a million times better. And I strongly recommend that people have one. But the problem is I and many people, according to my email, others also have multiple Windows Live IDs for different things. And the way that the Windows Live ID connects to different services is still to me pretty confusing. But one of the horrible mistakes that I made was I had a Hotmail ID from, like I said, 10 years ago, Thurrott at hotmail.com. And it's kind of come along through the ages as Microsoft came up with more and more services. I would use them through the Hotmail account and, as I wrote my reviews and did my, whatever I was doing at the time. When Xbox Live came around probably in the Halo 2 timeframe, whatever that was, you needed a Windows Live ID to get what became an Xbox Live gamer tag. And I used my Hotmail account because that was the thing at the time. Now, Microsoft eventually switched to or added live.com accounts, right? It wasn't just hotmail.com. You could also have a live.com account. So I got Thurrott at live.com. And that's the account I still use for my Messenger, for my Zune music stuff. But I have an older version of the Zune account that's attached to my Hotmail account as well. And so what I have is I have years and years of achievements in Xbox Live that are attached to my Hotmail account. I have most of my music stuff is actually on my Live account. I've been testing Windows Phone against my Live account, so now I have these Xbox Live games that have little achievements, no big deal, but you know, I've bought games and things on my Live account. You know, one of the things I've always intended to do was consolidate these. Like, you know, how do you consolidate these into one account? This is the ugliest freaking thing that I can possibly imagine, and I'm never going to be able to describe it adequately. But let me just say this. There is no way to consolidate these things into one account. The consolidation is impossible. But you can move to one account. You're going to lose stuff by doing so. So one of the things that I did was I have two Xboxes for myself. My son has a third, but for myself personally, there are two. One of them is my Hotmail account, my main Xbox with all my games on it and all my achievements. The other one's out of the den, and that's the Live account. So what I want to do is put all of my stuff onto the Live account. So I went out to the den and I removed my Live account from that gamer tag.
I see trouble ahead.
Right. Now, I have a third Windows Live ID I've not mentioned yet, but let's not worry about that. That one, well, we have to worry about it. I'm sorry.
It's going to come up, I can tell.
That one I used for Office Live years ago, but it's not affiliated with a Zune account or an Xbox Live account, or at least it wasn't. So what I did was I went out to the live.com gamer tag. It's kind of hard to explain, but I switched gamer tags. I'm sorry. The gamer tag remains the same, but I switched the underlying Windows Live ID from live.com to this one I was using.
Can you only have one? Or, you know, because like with Google accounts, you can associate multiple addresses with one account. You can't do that, though, with Xbox Live.
It's complicated, Leo. It's
complicated. I can already tell that.
You can link accounts.
Right.
But that's a different issue.
There's got to be one main account that's the associated account.
This is particularly important on the phone, and the reason is this. And by the way,
this ties back to this article that you wrote about getting ready.
Yes. Here's the issue. You can have multiple Windows Live IDs. I do, right? I actually have more. I actually have more than the three I've just described, but I don't want to. This is already too convoluted.
Right.
The issue is when you log onto the phone for the first time, you have a chance at startup, and you can do it later if you don't do it then, to configure your main central Windows Live ID. That is the only ID on the phone that can be tied to Xbox Live for gaming and Zune for music, and as it turns out, photo sharing. You can configure other Windows Live accounts. They cannot be associated with Zune. They cannot be associated with Xbox Live, at least on the phone, okay? They can't be associated with photo sharing directly, although they can be associated with feeds, which is an indirect way to get photo information from other people. So you could actually do that. And again, I don't want to get into this too deeply because, you know, when you describe this audibly, it's very...
I need a whiteboard for this.
Yeah, it's very complicated. But this is what... So what I was able... My goal is I'm going to keep my gamer tag, but I want to change Live IDs because what I want on the phone is all my achievements from over the years. I want all the game stuff to be there from over the years. What I was hoping I could do was take the Zune stuff from the Live account, the Xbox stuff from the Hotmail account, and combine it into one thing. You can't do it. Xbox Live and Zune are connected. So I've decided that
Xbox fool you. I know. How long have you been using Windows?
I know. Xbox Live for me personally is more important. So I'm going to lose all these plays or whatever I have in Zune. I mean, okay, fair enough. But here's the problem. I was able to remove my Live account from my secondary gamer tag and then apply the third Live account to it. Okay, fine. So then I went to my Xbox. And this is like one of those moment of truth things. You know, I have this Xbox Live account that, like I've said, I've had for years and years. It's got 26,000 achievement points, all these games, all this stuff. And now I'm going to actually screw with it, which is very intimidating. But I just did it on the other one, so I know the process. I can make this. I can do this. So you go through the whole thing, you type it in, and what it says is, because you just changed the other live ID within the past 30 days, you can't do this now. You have to wait a month.
Oh, so I hate it when they do that.
Yeah, so I actually got the courage up to do this.
Even though you knew that you're going to have to wait a month.
Well, I didn't know.
So I should do this. I should start now.
Well, see, it depends on what you're trying to do. If the gamer tag you're moving to has never been associated with an Xbox Live or Zune account,
yeah,
you can do it right now.
Then there's no issue because you're not.
My problem is I was using my Live account on an Xbox Live gamer tag like a jerk, and on Zune. Actually, that's my Zune Pass is on that one. I just paid for another 3 months of Zune Pass, and I'm going to lose it because So what I've decided is, for now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my Hotmail account because that's where the important stuff is. And 30 days from now, I'm going to switch it over to live.com. Now, when I do that, I'm going to have to blow away the phone, right? Because I'm logging in with live.com. And one of the other stupid things about Windows Phone is once you've set up that primary account on the phone, you cannot change it. You can't remove it. You can't make it something else. So you have to reset it. But I'm thinking I'm going to tie this to the time when I buy a micro SD card that will actually work in this phone. And I will at that time also expand the memory, not the storage. So this is my plan for 30 days from now. So mark your calendar. So I've done half of it. I would have done all of it, but I didn't.
Well, now I'm going back and looking at my my Hotmail and my Windows Live stuff. So I want to get this all done now and connect it to the right way right now.
Yeah. Now, if you already have one account,
I think I only have one that is really the one that.
Then you don't have to. You have no worries.
It should be easy.
One of the things you might want to do too is once you've logged on to live.com, and I saw you were on that screen where you can configure the services.
Right.
One of the other things you should do is manually browse to xbox.com or zune.net and log in. And it will give you the opportunity to associate that Windows Live ID with a Zune account and or an Xbox Live game
definitely
tag.
Want that because I have a Zune Pass, and that's going to be huge.
Then it already is. So you already have one. So
okay.
If you created a Zune account and it's attached to that Windows Live ID, you already have an Xbox Live account as well. But I would still log on to the Xbox Live site just to, make sure it's connected.
You're saying I can't do that from Xbox Live. I have to go to Zune.
No.
The Zune.
No, you can do it from either one. So actually, just do it right now. So you've logged in, right? In other words, that's your account.
This is my Windows Live account.
Go to the address bar, type in xbox.com.
You mean in the browser?
Yeah.
It's going to navigate away from that, though.
It's okay.
But Paul,
Leo,
I don't want the same thing that happened to me that happened to you.
No, you don't have. I have a stupid number of Windows Live IDs. This is my.
Yeah, that's your problem.
This is yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to sign into Xbox Live. If I can remember.
Yeah, right.
But shouldn't it already be associated with my Hotmail account or my Live account?
We're going to find out.
We're going to find out. Oh, Silverlight's got to install.
All right, so in 20 minutes we're going to find out. But well, the alternative would be to go to Zune.net and just do the same thing. But I think if that's the account that your Zune Pass is associated with.
I think it is. I mean, it should be.
You're all set.
So already done. But this is the thing that we were talking about last week, which is now's the time to groom your live services to make sure everything's attached and associated. And if you have multiple IDs, you gotta get going now because you might have to wait 30 days.
There's no problem accessing other Windows Live IDs on the phone if you want things like email, contacts, calendar, feeds, and this is off the top of my head, so I might be missing something. Let me just make sure. I think that's it. I think that's it. Yeah, but you can only have one account that's associated with primarily with the Zune and Xbox.
All right. Well, I'm gonna do some grooming. I like to call it Zunescaping.
There you go.
Yeah, and just gonna get everything tailored and cleaned up, just so that I'm ready. Because November 8th, I'm hoping. Now I haven't checked AT&T in the last couple of days. They weren't letting me pre-order yet.
Yeah, and this is still a question. We didn't find out whether they were going to allow that. AT&T will have the Samsung Focus and the HTC Surround on November 8th. And then the other phone they announced, which is the LG, it's not the Quantum, is it? LG Quantum?
I can't remember the name, yeah.
Whatever the LG phone was.
Right.
That will be coming out later in November. Well, that's the one with the hardware keyboard. I mean, that's the device.
That's how Ballmer kind of positioned it. We have a business one. We have one for people who are really into media. That's the one with this 5.1 surround sound. And then we have the phone you want. I thought Steve said that.
We have one with a keyboard, we have one with a speaker, and then we have the one everyone should buy.
Everybody should buy. Everybody should just say.
Those are actually how they're broken down at AT&T.
I think so.
No, I mean, AT&T, I think, did a good job of picking phones that have very specific reasons for being, right? You know, although, again, like it's hard for me to understand, aside from the keyboard, which I guess I sort of get, why anyone would pick a Focus over a surround over a Focus is unclear to me, but I guess it might happen.
So, well, they must, you know, they do market research.
Maybe the Focus is not available and you really want to get a Windows Phone that day.
Maybe they had a focus group.
That would be one possibility.
Well, once again, and this seems to happen to me every time I try to visit my AT&T account. As a security precaution, your account has been temporarily locked. Log in again in an hour. Yeah, I get this every time.
By the way, you know, one of the things that I've gotten a bunch of email from people about has been the performance of Windows Phone. I think it was Engadget who complained that.
Click to chat. All representatives are occupied. So don't. Wow. Actually, should say, don't click to chat. We're busy. It's lunchtime. Don't.
I always like when you're browsing a site and this little box slowly moves down from the top, and it says, "Would you like to chat with somebody?"
I hate that. I don't. If I wanted to chat with somebody, I wouldn't be using the internet. I'm a troubled loner. Please don't make me talk to a human.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would be on the phone with you.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That's me.
I'm going to browse their website in the hope that some box will come up and ask me if I want to talk to you.
Thank you. I was hoping there was a human here on the web.
Yeah.
This is why I come to the web, to chat with your customer service representatives. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about something. Okay. I'm too tired to even think about what we're going to tease here.
Okay, I'd like to
actually. I want to talk about Office 365 because
before that, I just want to talk quickly about the Windows Phone 7 performance issue.
Oh, God, you just cannot let it go, can you? Windows Phone 7. Hey,
at least it's Windows, big guy.
Yeah, it's true. Let's talk about Google TV in a moment when we return on Windows Weekly. Did you see Danny Sullivan? You got to read it. It's very humorous. Danny Sullivan reviews Google TV, his initial experiences. He's the search engine guy. He's great.
Oh, I do want to read that.
And he just rips it.
Oh, so we're going to talk about that too.
All right.
I have one. And
I'd like to know what you think.
I'm fascinated. I'm going to go look up this Danny.
Go read it while I talk, okay?
Yeah.
Not you, Paul. The rest of you, stay where you are. Because I know you don't have a plan. I'm suspecting. I could be wrong, and if I am, you can go read Danny Sullivan. But I have a feeling you don't have a plan for what would happen in your small business if you lost all your computer systems. What if there's a fire in the office and your systems go down and you say, well, I got backup, but where is that backup? Yeah, it's right there next to the system that just burned down. Your backup's gone too. Now, hypothetical, what do you do? To use the words of Carl Malden, what will you do? You don't have a backup. Are you going to recreate this stuff from paper? Look, you got to have, so important. We talk about this with individuals, of course, off-site backup, but it's even more important for a small business. You probably don't have an IT department. If it's you're a sole proprietor, you probably your own IT person, right? Carbonite Pro. This is it. You just make it simple on yourself. Go to carbonitepro.com. You can try it free for 30 days. There's no risk. It's very straightforward. Here's how it works. You install it on any computer in your office, and it can be hundreds if you want. You're not paying per user, per seat, as you do with other enterprise solutions. You only pay for the data you store, that you back up. So but you do have a centralized console, so you can see which systems are backed up. You do have, a way of controlling that. Your users, I really like this, but you don't have to turn it on, but I would recommend it. Your users can restore their own data. So you don't, and it's so embarrassing. I don't know if you've ever worked for a company and you accidentally delete that PowerPoint presentation right before you were supposed to give it, and you have to call the IT department. Paul and I both worked in IT. We know what this is like. The IT department loves this opportunity to get back at you for all the perceived slights. Oh, you deleted your PowerPoint, eh? I don't know if we can get that back.
Or did you?
Or did you? Golly, did you look in the recycle bin? Yes. Gone, huh? Yes. Well, I was just going to go to lunch. I don't know. Please? No. With Carbonite Pro, you restore it when you lose it. It is simple. It is secure. 128-bit SSL for all backups, and you can even turn on AES 256 so that it's HIPAA compliant. You don't have to worry. I mean, it is totally private. And the pricing, as I said, per data stored, not per user. So if you've got 10 users, each with 2 gigs, which is a significant amount, that's $10 a month. $10 a month. If you've got, let's say you got 100 users, each of them with 2 gigs, $150 a month. I mean, this is very affordable, enterprise-grade backup. I want you to take a look at it for 30 days. CarbonitePro.com. You have access to your files all the time from any computer you can log into your account from. The web browser, you just browse to the Carbonite Pro account, and there's your files. Also, they've got an iPhone app, free, you can download. I imagine they're working on a Windows Phone 7 app. CarbonitePro.com. Read all about it. Actually, I'm sorry, not AES 256. It's Blowfish and Triple Desk together, which is probably better. I mean, that's significant. CarbonitePro.com. Try it free for 30 days. You're going to love it. Did you find Danny's article?
I did.
You're reading it? Does it mirror your own experiences?
He's too kind.
He pans it, I might add. So let's see. Which one do you have? Do you have the Logitech Review?
No, I have the the Sony Internet TV.
Okay, and he bought the Sony Blu-ray player, which has, I presume, the same kind of thing.
Same software, yeah.
Yep. And I'm waiting. My review's shipped. It should come in the next day or two.
I don't know what to make of this thing, Leo. I will say this. Congratulations to Google for creating a TV set that it takes 45 minutes to actually boot up to the screen for the first time.
Good.
I don't get it. I mean,
Danny says in his review at the end of all of this, and it goes on and on and on, all the trials and tribulations, 45 minutes is nothing. At the end, his son says, "Dad, can we just watch TV? I just want to watch TV. Please, Daddy, please."
I'll say there are far less complex and inexpensive ways to run Netflix, for starters.
Yeah.
You can browse the web on the thing. That's kind of interesting. But then, one of the things I did do on it was, before we record the podcast, I'll usually hop on the Xbox and I'll play online for a little while. And depending on how my office is set up at the time, I put the live feed from your site on so I can know that you're in the, still doing a pre-recorded show. Now you have the guy on.
I'm not drunk and sleeping in the corner.
Yeah. So, but I actually, one of the few things that's worked on the Google TV browser is I brought the site up in Google Chrome on Google TV, and it actually worked, right? I tried to play some of the Apple stuff that didn't work. I tried to play a Microsoft video that required Silverlight, which you can't install browser plugins on this thing, and it's just, I don't know. So the TV itself is beautiful. I mean, the video quality is great. It's too slow to work with video games. It doesn't have a game mode, which is one of the ugly things I discovered this week, which is unfortunate. But the actual TV stuff, it's kind of crappy. I don't even.
So the idea is that you search for the show across all of the platforms that's supported by the TV.
This Nerdvana thing that you're describing is not how it works at all. But yes, that's the idea. Is that you search for what you want to watch. If it's on TV, you watch it on TV, or maybe it records it in the future, or whatever. There's an IR blaster thing for the TV, for the cable box, and it's awful.
I hate IR Blaster, and when I read about that, I thought, that's not good.
But I've been doing this for years. I have now several boxes in my living room. I want to consolidate that down at some point once these reviews are all done. But I have had many different solutions in the living room for getting some kind of video up on the TV that's not related to broadcast TV, whether it's an Apple TV or an Xbox 360 or whatever, WD TV, all these things. I think, Google TV obviously can work like that. You don't have to have it connected to live TV. I mean, why not just use it as this sideload thing that's completely separated from live TV. And, you know, there's just not much there. You know, there's not much to it. And, you know, and I just turn it on and I see myself. So I'll turn that right off.
Yeah.
Because it's still on the web page from before. You know, the Sony remote is awful. The interface is terrible.
Do you have that big clunky remote?
Yeah. You know, and it has.
It's hideous.
It's. You know, one of the funny things is, you know, you bring up the Google browser and there's no address bar. And so it took me, you know, I moused up to the top of the screen. Maybe it pops down. It doesn't. I thought, well, how? Then it occurred to me, well, in an OS, you know, on a desktop, you can do Control L to hit the address bar. Maybe that works here. And sure enough, there's a Control key, and you hit Control L, and the address bar pops up.
Well, I would not have guessed that. I don't think Danny guessed that.
It's just so stupid. I just, it's so bad. I'm doubting that I understand it well enough to write about it. Yeah. You know, I can't understand why it's this bad.
Yeah, sometimes I've had that happen in our business. You run across something that's so horrible that you think, oh, I must just be misunderstanding it. I mean, how could somebody release a product like this? It must be my fault.
The thing that's actually the worst thing about this product, and this is a complaint against Sony, not Google in this case. This thing ships with zero documentation.
Yeah.
Zero. There's a quick start kind of guide, you know, getting it connected and all that, but this would be, giving this to my parents would be like the making of the next Saw movie. You know,
mean.
It's just the meanest thing you could ever do to somebody.
I'm going to chain you to a bathtub and make you figure out how to use a Google TV.
Yeah, if you can bring up 30 Rock on this thing, I'll give you $10,000 because it's not going to happen. No, it's just, it's terrible. And I'm not going to write about it yet. I thought by now I would have had something up about this. I've had it for a while now, but I just don't get, it's awful. I don't know. I need to look it up. I'm missing something.
No, I don't think you are. Well, we'll see. And it may be a Sony thing. Like that remote is particularly ugly, but the Logitech doesn't have that.
And I'm not going to hold the remote against Google TV. I mean, I understand that.
That's a Sony.
And it does do, you know, the ability to both move a cursor around like you would with a mouse.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to.
Is okay.
Do you really want a browser on your TV?
No, I don't. So. As it turns out, it's one of those things that sounds, in theory, like it would be a good idea. But yeah, no, not really. No.
I was skeptical about Google TV because it just seemed more complex than really the market would bear.
Yeah, on the scale of, you know, complex, like stupid complex and stupid easy, I think right now we're looking at it goes from Google TV to Apple TV. And I think Apple TV is
as easy as you can get.
It's easy as you can get, yeah.
And kind of brain dead for that reason. I mean, it doesn't do much.
Appropriately priced. It's $99. I mean, it's, you know.
I like Roku. I think Roku's right in the middle there.
Roku is actually very close to the Apple thing. That Roku goes beyond the Apple TV by providing more content opportunities. And actually, I would say at this point, arguably, the Roku is actually superior. I'm just saying from a sheer simplicity standpoint. I wouldn't say that Apple TV is better than Roku. It's just...
I like Roku a lot.
Apple TV is so single-minded in purpose. It's like the Terminator robot. You know, you will stream content.
That's it.
That's all you're doing. Yeah.
That's all you do.
That's all it does.
They sold 250,000, so apparently...
it's a nice little box, and it works.
It seems like it's just Netflix and iTunes. That's it.
Well, right, but you can also connect to your computer. So
right.
I've already had opportunities where, okay, I have this stuff on my computer. I can turn on iTunes, go on the other, connect to it, and watch the TV show or the movie or whatever it is. So that does work.
All right, I'll give you that. Let's see. Oh, Office 365. I wanted to ask you about this because I can't see it. It's not yet open, and beta people can see it.
So I apologize for changing gears again.
No.
I just want to address the Windows Phone thing because I've gotten a bunch of emails about this. I think it was Engadget had written a review. I haven't read it, but where they complained about the performance of applications, and they were saying that applications were slow. And people have said to me, you know, have you experienced
it sluggish? Yeah.
So the answer is no. I have not experienced that. What I have experienced is slow load times on certain applications, especially big games. So there's a game called The Harvest, which is that 3D video game. The very first one they ever showed for Windows Phone is out now, and it's a great game, by the way. But it does take it takes 30 seconds to come up. I mean, till you're actually playing. It is a slow loading game. Yeah. I believe that this is related to the way that the .NET framework works and this compact .NET framework that they have on the phone, and the Silverlight apps, and I think it has to do with runtime compilation or whatever they're doing. But I think that that's what you're seeing with that kind of thing. But I decided today to look again because, you know, enough people have emailed me about it. You know, am I missing something? You know, so I downloaded a bunch of third-party apps, and I actually had the opportunity to test, you know, in a very unscientific fashion, some apps that are the same or roughly the same on the iPod Touch and the iPhone, and then on Windows Phone. And one of the ones that I thought was really kind of a compelling test case was the Netflix application, because not only are you loading and running an application, but it's always hitting this back-end service, because that's how this app works. It brings up not just your instant queue, but also this dynamic data that's related to recommendations for you based on certain categories. So you watched a movie recently, they're going to show you movies that are like that movie, or they'll make recommendations based on genres of movies or TV shows that you watch a lot and things like that. So what I discovered was that on the first time run, Netflix on Windows Phone actually comes up much more quickly on Windows Phone than it does on the iPhone. But subsequently, it actually comes up much more quickly on the iPod Touch because, of course, and this is the latest generation of the hardware, it has multitasking. So the thing's actually, it's not booting anymore. It's sitting there running in the background. Okay, but that's, to the end user, it's still faster. The load times on movies and TV shows is actually pretty similar, but the way that it does it is completely different. You know, on the iPod Touch, I noticed kind of a churning of, you know, a little icon there that indicates it's doing something, whereas on the phone, on the Windows Phone, the screen would go black for the player, but then the video wouldn't start right away, and that the video start times would vary from device to device. But actually, when the Windows Phone version came on more quickly than did the iPod Touch for me, the several times I tried that. You know, the presentation is different. You know, the Windows Phone app uses that pivot interface that they have for applications, whereas the iPhone app, you know, uses the iPhone-style toolbar. But it's the exact same data and types of data. You know, I don't remember off the top of my head, but, you know, genres, and genre was one, and instant queue and search and all that. Search was much quicker for me on the iPod Touch, for whatever that's worth. So to me, it was kind of a wash. I mean, I didn't run into any applications that I found to be particularly slow, but what I did run into occasionally were mostly games, I would say the bigger games, where the load time was slow. But I've never once, and we talked about this, you may remember this, I had some concerns with the prototype hardware where the first couple of games came out, and the performance was bad.
Yeah, but that's not unusual on prototype hardware.
But it still made me wonder, because that hardware was, you know, essentially speaking, should be the same as shipping hardware.
Well, the other thing is the operating system has debugging symbols in it and all sorts of stuff.
That could be. And it was a pre-release version of the OS and all that.
You can never measure the speed of a pre-release. I mean, that's just not.
My experience running all of these games, including Harvest, and by the way, this is including on the 256 megs of RAM on the Samsung Focus, has been excellent.
Except for the load time.
Except for the load time, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a big game.
Yeah, and it's it is a fully rendered 3D environment. It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous game.
Yeah.
It's a game that you could probably, if you could somehow blow it up to a big screen.
It would look good.
I bet it would look great, yeah.
I want to try it. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a nice looking game.
Okay. I'm going to try one more time. Office 365. How do you like that?
Before we get to that, so I don't have it yet. I'm gonna.
Oh, you don't either. Okay.
No, I talked to Microsoft about it. I was told.
Well, then the hell with it. I don't want to talk to you.
We would get early access to it, but I will say this. So, it, in many ways, is a rebranding of things that already existed, but it's also a consolidation of things that already existed. And I think that's the important bit, that Microsoft had these things around that never really connected in any meaningful way, even though they should be connected, and now they will be connected. So today they have this thing called Business Productivity Online Suite, which I think we can all agree is a horrible name.
BPOS. You tell me what that stands for.
I just did. Essentially, it is hosted versions of Exchange, SharePoint, Communication Server, which is changing into something else apparently, and possibly some other things. But those are the primary services there. And it's a way to use those servers as services rather than hosting them on premises for businesses and so forth. The problem with BPOS, aside from the name, is that as of today, they're still running the previous generation versions of those servers. So Exchange 2010 has come out, SharePoint 2010 has come out. these things are running 2007 versions. So as part of Office 365, they're being updated, obviously, to the 2010 versions. They're being rebranded, so you won't see BPOS anymore. They're being combined with the Office web apps, which is probably, obviously overdue and requires the 2010 software. And then for the business, the enterprise version of this consolidated service, you'll also be able to get Office, an actual desktop version of Office, the Professional Pro version, as part of the subscription. This is the thing that Microsoft's been wanting to do forever, which is offer Office and other products as subscription services. So there'll be a small business version. I think it's about $6 per month per user, where you get everything but the the Office suite. And then there'll be at different price points an enterprise version that does include or can include the Office Pro suite and central management consoles and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is a good idea, and I think it's an interesting indication where they're going, because it's not so much Office in the cloud, but it's a step in that direction. And you can see as Office web apps.
Why is it not Office in the cloud? I mean, what's missing?
Well, Office in the cloud is what's missing. Right?
Well, but so it doesn't have like Docs.com doesn't have the.
Yeah, it does have that. It has the Office web apps.
Well, that's I'm sorry. What's the difference?
It's a subset.
It's not the full. I see what you're saying. It's not the full Office suite as you would have if you installed it. I get it. Okay.
Right, and I don't.
You think that's going to happen? I mean, that's a lot of software.
Oh, I absolutely think it's going to happen. If you go into a Word web app, you'll discover this thing that's actually pretty good. I apologize if I get the details wrong, because again, I'm working off the top of my head. But the reason I can't use it, as I recall, it doesn't have things like reviewing and all that stuff, but it does spell checking, and I want to say not grammar checking. But you can't edit the dictionary. So there are technical words and company names that I use really regularly on my desktop version of Word. Of course, I add those words to the dictionary so they don't come up as marked as incorrect, as misspelled. You can't do that on Office on Word web app. That makes it useless. To me, it makes it unworkable. So I think those are the types of things that will change over time. But if you look at the delta between Word web app and Word 2010 or any of the Office apps and the Office web apps, that gap needs to close over time, and I think it will. And eventually, what we will arrive at is Office in the cloud, and I think that will be an offering, and maybe it won't be a free offering.
So instead of buying an Office on a DVD, you'd just buy access to the
log
cloud.
In. Yeah.
But they are positioning this as a direct competitor to Google Docs. This is Microsoft's response to Zoho, Office, Google Docs, all of these.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
So I mean, it's complete enough. I'll tell you what, it made me think, especially with the SharePoint integration, it made me think, because we use Google Docs. We pay the $50 a year per seat. And use Google Apps, I should say.
So $50 per year is significantly less expensive than what this is. And to me, it's a step in the right direction. Microsoft always comes in a little high on these things.
Well, wait a minute. How much is it? It's not that much more. It's like $72 a year or something. Was it $7 or $8 a month, something like that?
Yeah, it's $6 per month.
So that's $72. That's not hugely more.
But it's more.
I guess if you had 1,000 seats at 22
hey, Leo, if you wanted to use Office web apps in the cloud, you could for free. So, I see what you're saying, but it's still more. I mean, I think they need to match Google on the pricing, and they'll probably get there. This also, it's funny, this topic and also the Windows Live stuff, where you log on to Windows Phone with this Windows Live ID, brings up something that we may have mentioned. I don't remember, but the more I think about this, the more convinced I become that Windows needs to move to a system where, instead of creating these stupid little local accounts like we always do, we should be logging on to our Windows Live IDs when we log on to a PC, don't you think?
Yeah, we need something, I don't know, we could call it Passport, and it would be like...
Yes. Right, and what would come down when you logged in for the first time on that fresh virgin PC would be all of your settings, all of your custom desktops, your applications.
So Microsoft killed Passport. But that's exactly what you're looking for, single sign-on.
Well, Windows Live ID is Passport, so
it is. Is what it is. Well, and I'll tell you, as I set up for Windows Phone, which I've been doing while you've been talking, and I, by the way, now have Xbox Live and Zune Pass. It's all hooked in. That's living up to that. That's one Windows Live ID. That when I put that in the phone, all of this stuff's going to come in.
Right. So what's interesting is I can sort of barely see what you have in there. But for example, you have Flickr, was one of the things I thought.
Flickr, SmugMug, Hulu, Facebook. Yelp.
Yeah. So when people
Pandora.
update those accounts that are friends of yours, yeah, that stuff will show up on the phone. It's really neat how that works.
So we're close with, I mean, they've got it down for this.
But how funny that it's available on the phone.
I know, but not.
Right? You know, and not on their bread and butter, the thing they've been working on for the past 30 years.
Wouldn't that be awesome? So it doesn't matter. I mean, that's the promise of any cloud solution is it doesn't matter what computer you log into. Everything's there.
Windows Live should be domains for consumers.
Domains now does it copy stuff locally when that happens on domains? Like your populates your documents folder? Yeah. So that is a little different than what Google does. It doesn't populate your hard drive. It doesn't give you local copies immediately.
Oh, you're talking about Office 365. I'm talking about domains.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, if you did domains for 365, would it populate your hard drive with your content?
Yeah, I mean that would be the point of it.
Right.
Right. You should always be working off a local copy of something that's then synced.
And that's superior to the Google solution. Google does not do that.
Right. I mean, there's a piece of this in Windows Phone, but it's only for SharePoint, where you can not just download documents from a SharePoint server, but set it up so that it's always synced, so that if you were to edit it on the phone, it would sync the changes back to the the main copy of the document up in the server.
This is more like Dropbox, kind of, where you have a local copy as well as a cloud copy of everything.
Sure.
The only difference is when you log out of Dropbox, it doesn't delete your data. That data stays on your hard drive.
Well, and I guess it's more sophisticated too. It also has version control. There's the notion that the document you're accessing in SharePoint isn't your document necessarily. It could be, but it could be a shared document.
Right.
Dropbox is a nice solution for individuals. I mean, Windows Live Mesh does this as well. But
no, we ran into that with an Excel spreadsheet, for instance. If we have several people working on one Excel spreadsheet, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Right. Whereas on SharePoint, that would work.
It would work. Exactly why I'm looking at, by the way, Office 365.
Yeah.
But now there's the issue of every time I log in, it's going to copy all this data down. I mean, isn't that going to take a while?
No, it's not. It's not going to happen. It's not to that point yet. This is separate from the logging and domain stuff. This is just.
No, I understand, but isn't that what you're saying you want?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
And I guess bandwidth's fast enough so we don't have to. We're not concerned about it.
I will say this. We talked earlier about how quick and easy it is to install Windows 7, which is absolutely true. What we didn't mention is the next 7 hours that you spend customizing the system, copying all your data back over, installing all the applications, and then updating all the applications and getting the thing up and running to the point where you want it to be. The thing I'm describing would do all that stuff, and maybe it took, I don't think it would take the same amount of time, but even if it did, if you don't have to do it manually, it's still an improvement over what we do today. So, yeah, I get it. I get that bandwidth is expensive in some places. I get that bandwidth isn't available in all places. Yeah, I know. I'm not saying this is perfect. I'm just saying clearly this is the direction they need to be heading in. And it seems like they already have the pieces in place to make it happen.
No, I'm with you. I think that that is a very competitive solution, and I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Let's mention Xbox 360, #1 console in the U.S.
Yeah, so I guess NPD, which is very trusted as a source for U.S. retail market share data of all kinds of different products, including things that have nothing to do with the tech industry, decided, I guess, about a month ago that maybe they were a little too popular, so they're going to start charging for that information. They're not going to, so one of the things they would release every month was, here's the video game data. Here's how many hardware units were sold, how many software units on each platform, what's up and what's down. And, people would write stories every month. The Xbox was #1 or #2 or whatever it was. So this month was the first month they didn't release that information publicly. You can subscribe to get it if you want to pay for it. So Microsoft, I think, apparently subscribes. So they decided they would just publish the information because, they were #1 and they wanted to make sure everyone heard that. So there's been an interesting trend in the U.S. this year where the Xbox is on a huge upward trend, and the Nintendo Wii is on a huge downward trend. It's almost like the Nintendo hit a wall. That they were rocking and rolling ever since they first came out, and it's maybe everyone who wants one has one. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I'm surprised there's not a brisk resale market for Nintendo Wiis.
I've said this before, and I don't think most people ever use these things.
No, exactly.
I think they sit there.
It's fun for the first week.
Yeah. And you'll have a goofy, drunken, stupid party every once in a while where maybe you want to.
That's why they're not selling them, because in case you get goofy and drunk. Yeah. It's good to have.
But Microsoft and to a lesser degree, I think Sony have both improved their consoles over the years. Sony a year ago now came out with that slimmer, lighter, quieter version of their own console. And of course, Microsoft did it this year. And ever since they did that, they've been #1. And when you look ahead to what's happening for the rest of the year between the release of the Kinect add-on, which is apparently already pre-selling very well, and then games like Call of Duty, Black Ops, and so forth, I don't think there's any reason to believe that they're going to be anything other than #1 for the rest of the year, and then also for the full year as well, which is going to be the first time that's ever actually happened for Microsoft. With their console will actually be most likely the best-selling console this year. That's a pretty good turnaround, actually. So good for them. So I think they got the product right. The hardware finally only took them 4 years, but they apparently got that right, or 5 years actually. The new console is great. We have ours is running every day. It's not as heavily, running heavily as my game machine or whatever, but it is in a very tight, confined space that's kind of hot by nature, and you never hear the thing. It always works. It's never shut down. It's never melted or anything. So far, so good. But it seems like they're finally, it took a while, but it seems like they're finally on to something.
No more Red Ring of Death. I love that.
Yeah. It's definitely a benefit.
It won't break.
Yeah. It won't implode.
Right away, anyway. We're going to get the Windows 7 feature of the week. This is Windows Phone 7 feature of the week. This is a new feature for those of you who tune in for the IE9 feature of the week. I think we did it.
I think we milked that.
We milked that sucker. So now we're going to the Windows Phone 7 feature, and nobody better to write that than the author of this fine book.
Maybe. I'm sorry.
Windows Vista Secrets.
I'll tell you what. If you get me a new webbing for this, I will send you a new.
Wait, have we ordered a new spider mount for Mr. Thurrott? All right, you get them from the same people you get the rubber bands for your
Oh, I have
braces.
Those in my house. Can I just use those?
Yeah. I just take them off your braces.
What would happen, though, is I would put those on here, and then one would
fire at you.
Right into my eye.
Boing! He's blinded, and then you could sue me.
Yeah.
So, no, I think Cachefly has been invited to, that was my mistake. I invited him to buy you a new one. I'm now going to order him to buy you a new one. And then... What did you say?
I've not met Eileen, but I bet if I asked Eileen,
she'd do it. You can tell she's efficient.
I can tell.
And then, but you did offer a quid pro quo, a tit for tat.
I did.
Yes. And what would that
be? Send you both Windows Phone secrets as well as Windows 7 secrets.
2 tits for tat.
You got to have 2.
That's fair. Thank you. I would like that because I'm getting really tired of holding up this book.
I'm actually also tired of seeing it.
So, Windows Vista Secrets.
It's a dark chapter.
But boy, it sure helped me a lot. A lot of this is still applicable. I'm not saying you shouldn't buy the new one.
Yeah.
But it's not like this is instantly obsolete.
Really? Because it kind of feels that way.
Okay, it is. I'm trying to help you here.
Are the 7 people still running Windows Vista?
I think there's still lots of people running XP even.
Oh, there are definitely lots of people still running XP. It's starting, you can see it in my email. It's starting to dawn on them.
Yeah.
That Microsoft is serious about leaving them in the dust. And it's time. I see this every day now. I just got an email from someone about Live Mesh, using Live Mesh on Windows XP. Live Mesh is expiring, as we discussed a few weeks ago. So, I went to the Windows Live Essentials website, and am I missing something? It doesn't appear that the new version of Live Mesh will actually work on Windows XP. Sorry. Yes, that's true. That's true. It's true. Sorry.
So our Windows Phone 7 feature of the week today is Hubs.
Yeah, so I'm going to start writing up a series of articles describing, the 1,000,001 feet. There are a lot. I don't know that I'm going to do a feature of the week. Maybe I shouldn't even call it the feature of the week. I don't know that I'll do one of these every single week on the podcast, but over time there will certainly be a number of these. And hubs are, in my mind, maybe the single #1 differentiator between Windows Phone and the competition. And the thing that you're doing right now, Leo, where you're configuring your Windows Live account is going to be exposed in these hubs, because on Windows Phone, yes, you can run applications, individual applications. For example, there will be a Facebook application that's coming. There is a Twitter application already. But you can also access a lot of this stuff through these hubs, which is a way to integrate services from multiple places and show them in a single seamless UI. So if you want to see all the photo updates from your friends and your family, whether they come from Facebook or Flickr or SmugMug or Windows Live or wherever, you know, the Pictures Hub on Windows Phone is one of those places where you can do that. The People I want to say the People Hub on Windows Phone 7, in addition to supplying just a sort of a rote contact list, also supplies a way for your friends to publish implicitly their social networking updates from all over the web, different services, all in a single place through a What's New list or feed that also happens automatically on the phone. But, you know, hubs are used for different things on the phone. There's a games hub for all your Xbox Live and other games. There's an Office hub for all the Office applications and SharePoint. The People's Hub, like I said, pictures, music plus videos, which is not just for Zune, but also for all the third-party music and video services. You know, YouTube goes in there, the AT&T radio, Pandora will be in there, all of the stuff, you know, anything you can think of that's related to digital media. So I think that the big thing about Windows Phone, frankly, is hubs, because you can extend the functionality of any phone by adding applications. That's just the way it is. But on Windows Phone, you can actually extend the functionality of these things that aren't necessarily apps, but are more like topic or task areas, you know, activity centers almost. They're a seamless, panoramic experience for things that, you know, maybe make sense to be displayed in that way, like pictures being the obvious version. So I'll write up a nice, lengthy and maybe overly lengthy article about hubs sometime this weekend, so you can take a closer look and see.
We have a scoop from our chat room. They just put the Facebook app, the official Facebook app, on the marketplace. Yeah, very
good.
Yay! We're getting
so. Told you.
Told ya. So you got Twitter, you got Facebook, you got all that. The thing is, now see, this is where I'm a little confused because I've connected it through my Windows Live ID. I would get Facebook content somehow pumped in without an app, right?
So yeah, this is confusing, Leo, because soon there will be 3 different ways that you can access Facebook content on Windows Phone. There is an explicit Facebook account type that you can configure that can optionally blend your Facebook contacts and their information into your contacts list.
You don't need the app for that.
You don't need the app for that. It will also provide feed information into those feeds explicitly.
Again, you don't need the app for that. Do I need the app to post a status update?
Let me think about that one.
So, so it's a one-way.
Right.
So, okay. So if I don't have the app, it's all one way into the phone.
No, it's not all one way. What's interesting about the feed stuff, that the implicit integration, if you go to Windows Live and you configure Facebook through there, you're getting sort of an implicit, if you will, access to Facebook, because Facebook feed information will still appear in the Pictures Hub and also in the People Hub, right? You can comment on your own pictures and on other people's pictures, and the threads of comments that are associated with pictures or just posts appear in these places. And you can join in the conversation. It's basically live, and refresh the view to see if anyone's replied to what you wrote. You can do that outside of a Facebook app already on Windows Phone. I actually have, I find it somewhat confusing, and I think other people will as well, to understand the differences between the different ways that you can access Facebook on the phone. But for better or worse, yeah, there's the Windows Phone centric way. There's the Windows Live centric way, which again implicitly also applies to the phone. And then there'll be an explicit app, which will give you the full functionality.
Hey, before we get to your software picks of the week and your tip of the week, I think this would be a good time to take a little break and talk about our friends at Audible.com. Audible is the great place to get your audio entertainment. It is the ultimate in audiobook stores. If you listen to a podcast, I know you're going to love Audible. Audible is you know, audio books, radio shows, comedy performances. I'm a focus on the books because for me, Audible gets me reading again. I just love that. I miss that. You know, when you get so busy in life, you don't have time to sit down and read a book, you kind of miss it. And your brain misses it. This feeds my brain and my need to be entertained, to enjoy. Look at this. There's a new version of Philip K. Dick's A Scanner Darkly, read by Paul Giamatti. That's going to be awesome. Every time I go to the Audible page, I find something new. 75,000 books. And we're going to tell you how to get one free right now. If you go to audible.com/windows, audible.com/windows, and sign up for the gold account. That's a book a month. That's I'm a platinum account member. I do 2 books a month, but a book a month, good way to start anyway. And your first month's free. Your first book's free. You can cancel at any time and keep the book forever. So it's a free book. Paul, you have a recommendation for today. I like the name of it. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, this will forever peg me as a child of the 1980s, but
you're hungry like the wolf, aren't you?
I am, yeah. It's called Talking to Girls About Duran Duran. This book has actually inspired me, I guess, or whatever the reverse of inspired me is, to create some 1980s playlists for my daughter so she can enjoy them in the car. So
this is like high fidelity for your generation, I guess.
Yeah.
So is it a novel?
It's a book by a guy who's a reporter for Rolling Stone today, and he actually grew up in Milton, Massachusetts, which is just a town over from here, and graduated from high school a year before I did. And it has all of the same. There are a lot of local references, which I love. He talks about going to the popcorn record store at the South Shore Plaza to buy records, which I've absolutely done in my life.
That's neat.
And all the radio stations that I grew up on. In fact, he reminded me of a summer where I went to D.C. and my friend Chris saved the top 40 chart that WHTT here in Boston at the time used to put out. So I would have them when I got home. I'm not even sure why that was important, but it's just I mean, all of, the 80s, for whatever, for better or worse, certainly there's a certain kind of music that came out of that time period, and I just grew up on it, so I can't think about it logically, but I've always loved music, and of course I love the music of the 80s. So I should note, I'm actually reading this book on the Kindle, but it's so great, and there's an Audible version, and I think it would be a good way to enjoy it as well, because it's just, assuming you're my age and grew up in Milton, Massachusetts, especially, it would be particularly relevant, but I think it would be good for anybody. It's a neat book, and apparently it's his second book. I've never read the original book that he wrote as well.
Love is a mixtape. Sounds good too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to check that one out as well. So
Bob Sheffield, Rob Sheffield. I recognize his byline from the Rolling Stone. This sounds really good.
Yeah, it is really good.
Tell you what, get it free right now, folks. Go to audible.com/windows. Plays on your Zune, plays on your iPhone, your iPod Touch. Just pretty much everything. Your Android devices, they have a free Android and iPhone app now. Even like GPS, Kindle, all sorts of stuff. Anything, if it can play back audio, chances are pretty good it can play back an Audible book. Talking to Girls About Duran Duran. Get it free by going to audible.com/windows. You're going to love Audible. I know you are. So get that first book free and then sit back and enjoy audible.com. So now, Paul, it looks like it's time to move on to your tip of the week.
Yeah, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I did the tip about what to do before you get Windows Phone.
Yes,
there's one, and that's
which I've now done. Yeah.
No, there's one more piece to that, which is researching what's available from a phone perspective. So, as part of my Windows Phone 7 review, I've described all of the hardware that's available on every single Windows phone, so you can kind of leave that out of the equation. But then there are certain kinds of hardware that are optional and available only on some phones. And I think it's a good idea just to have an understanding of what's available, where it's available, look at what there is and find out what's important to you and make sure that the phone that you're going to get eventually has all that stuff. And then I also have some specific recommendations for both AT&T and T-Mobile customers. I can't really cover the whole world, unfortunately, but I think I've already ruined the surprise that you want the Samsung Focus if you're going to go to AT&T.
Were you keeping that a secret?
No, yeah, it's not the world's worst kept secret.
Yeah.
And T-Mobile, but this article is already available online, so it's I think it's part 3 of my lengthy
review.
Windows Phone review. Yeah.
We didn't really get into that, but I think I want to leave that as an exercise for the listener, because this is, as you say, a long review.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, get a Windows Live ID, configure your Windows Live ID. I've already done that. Import your context, so make sure everything's in there. And now it's time to choose the phone, and well, we'll leave that to you. Yeah. This is such a good. There's more than a review. It's really not a review. It's like setting up. It's like,
that part of it is, yeah. I wasn't sure how to present that, but
perfectly appropriate.
Ahead of time. So I want to make sure people have that before we go.
And in a way, that's an appropriate part of the review, because this is how it works in great detail. This is what you're going to do.
The tough sell about Windows Phone is that I think it makes for a good demo regardless. But any smartphone can be loaded up with pretty pictures of people or whatever in places, and it looks neat.
Right.
But I think where Windows Phone really becomes so obviously awesome is when you log on, with your stuff.
Yeah, that's what you said. Is it kind of came to life for you?
That's when it happens.
Yep.
And it's just amazing.
Well, as soon as they unlock my AT&T account,
I can't believe you have that kind of problem.
Sons
It's funny.
of beaches. Software pick of the week.
So this one is from, I'm going to screw up this name, I hope not, but it's Devin Valentina, who sends a replacement for the old image resizer power toy, which was a great power toy for Windows XP. So if you have a photo typically on your computer, you want to email it or send it or resize it otherwise, it gave you an option to choose between different resizing opportunities. That tool never existed for Windows 2000 previous to XP, but also not for Vista or 7. And of course, because it's a 32-bit tool and a shell extension, you can't install it on 64-bit versions of Windows, period. So someone has written a clone of this tool. It literally works exactly the same way, but it works on modern versions of Windows as well, including 64-bit versions of Windows. So that's a neat little tool, and I think it's one of those things that people really miss as they move forward from XP. So it's another reason not to run XP. So why not choose this?
And it's free.
And it's free.
Very cool. And finally, we're going to start doing Windows Phone 7 software picks as you get your Windows Phone. I guess Facebook could be one right away, but you've got another one for us.
Yeah, and the goal here really is, I could do one of these every single day, I guess. I just don't have the time or inclination.
There's how many apps? 2,000?
Okay, so what they've said is that there are 1,000, or there will be 1,000 by the time of the U.S. launch, but they're adding several hundred every single week after that, through the end of the year at least, and so there will be thousands by the end of the year. Right now, I think there are several hundred, I think is where we're at right now. But there are already 12 to 15 Xbox Live games, which are all very high quality, and you're already seeing the high points being hit on the normal part of the App Store as well. And one of the really good ones is Netflix, which just became available the other day. I mentioned it earlier, so we don't have to go into it in too much detail. And, of course, Netflix, I think most people understand. But the important thing about Netflix is that, as we've discussed previously on the podcast, it's that one online service that is just ubiquitous. It's become that one thing that, the Apple TV as a hardware device hasn't become yet, or it's become the iPod, if you will, of, digital media online services, assuming, of course, you live in the United States. Netflix is a must-have service if you like movies and TV shows and all that. It's very inexpensive, and it's the on-demand stuff, the instant streaming stuff that has made this service all the more valuable. It started off as kind of a joke. It was horrible when it first came out, but that streaming service, for me, has almost replaced TV at this point. It can't quite do it. There are certain things like live sports and so on, but it's just such a great service, and the Windows Phone app is a really good implementation.
It's exciting. I love Netflix. I'm really glad it's on the Windows Phone. That would have been something I would have been loath to give up. So I'm glad.
Yeah, no, I think you're going to see all the tier 1 apps will be in there. Yeah.
Paul Thurrott is the editor-in-chief of the SuperSite for Windows, winsupersite.com. He's a analyst for Penton Media. He's a nice guy.
He's
loves the 80s. Loves his Duran Duran. He's hungry like a wolf.
I was never actually much of a Duran Duran fan.
Really?
Yeah.
I was once
more of a hair metal guy, I think.
Hairy metal?
Hair metal.
Oh, I don't know hairy metal. You were like into Poison.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
You kind of glam rock. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no way to unsissify what I was into.
Yeah, and it's not. Did you have the long hair? Did you have the mullet?
No, I've always been very, very white bread.
Really, like this, short hair like this?
Yeah.
But you secretly desired to be Bret Michaels.
I may still secretly desire to be like Bret Michaels.
You could wear a do-rag and
I could.
we
Maybe
wouldn't
I'll try
know.
that out. Maybe next week I'll wear a do-rag.
Little white snake.
I'll get a tattoo or something.
I'm not clear what hairy metal is, but I'm
hair metal.
I know. I'm just giving you.
You're so old, Leo.
I'm giving you a hard time. I was just trying to see if I have
Why must you mock me?
Hair metal in my repertoire, and I don't. I don't have any. It's hard to believe. I've got like 30,000 songs and not one hair metal song.
Oh well, I'll make some recommendations.
Thank you. I could use that. So you can also read his books, and the new one is out soon, like next week, right?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah,
I should find out about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly as soon as next week.
Wow, that's exciting. If you go to Amazon and search for Paul Thurrott, you'll find Windows Phone Secrets out soon. We're so excited. And also, don't forget, he's the news editor, Windows IT Pro magazine. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for your dancing pleasure, I give you Paul Thurrott. No?
You know, I can't call them fond memories, but I have memories of those dances where all the boys would be lined up on one side and all the girls would be on the other. Kind of kicking your shoe and nothing. Yeah,
I do remember that.
It's so sad.
Somebody said I'm having a seizure. Quick, get a stick. All right.
If you had said to me, of all the groups of the 80s, who would still be popular 30 years from now? I don't know that I could have even answered that question, but I can assure you, Duran Duran would not have been on that list.
I was on a plane with them once. Nice guys. No, they didn't come back to economy.
I'm surprised to hear that.
Yeah. All righty, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Love the 80s. Love the hair. Bye.
Bye.